This is a gripping and emotionally layered narrative, tense, smartly paced, and coldly strategic. It reads like the opening to a psychological thriller or a tightly wound drama. The protagonist's calm, calculated response to betrayal is chilling, in the best way, and the methodical unraveling of Mary's plan creates a real sense of anticipation and power reversal. If you're developing this into a full story, novel, or screenplay, here are a few suggestions to consider for deepening it. Character depth. Flesh out Michael's emotional undercurrents more. He's remarkably composed, which fits his character. But subtle cracks, a shaking hand, a memory flash, a dream, could humanize him further. Mary's perspective. You might consider writing a scene or chapter from Mary's POV later to add complexity. Was she desperate, manipulated, or purely self-serving? Right now, she feels like a calculated villain, but adding nuance could make the fallout more layered. Mark's endgame. Since Mark has a history of cons, it could be interesting to have him try to con Mary as well, flipping the betrayal back on her in a twist Michael never expected. The payoff. The revenge arc is building well. Just make sure. The climax delivers emotionally and strategically. A legal or public twist that humiliates them both could be particularly satisfying, depending on tone. What did I do? I repeated, my voice calm, almost amused. I looked her over. Not with pity, but with the detached curiosity one might offer a stranger unraveling in public. Mary's eyes were frantic, rimmed red from stress and sleepless nights. Her grip on my arm tightened like it might anchor her back to reality. But it was far too late for that. You're asking the wrong question, I said, gently pulling free. You should be asking yourself what you did. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came, just shallow, rapid breaths. Her world had finally collapsed, and she still didn't understand how. The accounts, secured, the house, legally locked under my name, the car, repossessed the moment payments stopped, her fantasy life with Mark, gone, just like him. I don't understand, she muttered, shaking her head. No, you don't, I said, picking up my bag. And that's the problem. You thought this was a game. You thought you could lie, cheat, and manipulate your way into a better life without consequence. Her lip trembled. She looked around as if hoping someone would rescue her from the truth. No one moved. I didn't think it would go this far, she whispered. That's the thing about betrayal, I said, eyes locked on hers. It doesn't come with warning signs. You cross a line, and then one day, you realize there's no way back. Michael, please, her voice cracked. I'm pregnant. I held her gaze, unreadable. Then I suggest you figure out how to raise that child with what you have left, because from now on, that doesn't include me. I turned and walked away, the sound of my footsteps calm and steady against the cold floor of the terminal. Behind me, silence. No more pleas, no more lies. Just the quiet, inevitable collapse of everything she'd built on deception. She thought she had won. She never stood a chance. Tone consistency. The cold, calculated demeanor of Michael is consistent and believable, especially in how he withholds empathy while asserting dominance. Emotional pacing. The gradual shift from confrontation to detachment to renewal is well structured. The payoff, meeting Claire, feels earned. Dialogue, sharp and effective. Mary's desperation contrasts starkly with Michael's steady demeanor, enhancing tension. Suggestions for improvement. Pacing in confrontations. The airport and cafe scenes are long and dialogue-heavy. Breaking them up with brief inner monologue or sensory detail could enhance pacing and emotional impact. For instance, her sobs grew louder. Consider adding a line like, I glanced around. Strangers stared, some with curiosity, others with pity. None of it reached me. Show don't tell opportunities. Sentences like, her face pale and her eyes red, rimmed likely from sleepless nights and endless crying, can be made more evocative. She looked like a memory smudged at the edges, mascara clinging to hollow eyes, the sharpness in her gaze dulled by regret. Transition to the new life. The shift from Mary's exit to Michael's personal growth and new romance could use smoother transitions or headers for clarity if it's part of a larger story. Consider showing more specific contrasts between Claire and Mary through dialogue or behavior rather than narration alone. Typo clarity fixes penis downtown likely meant penthouse. My asked probably meant my past. End stronger. The ending trails off with, meanwhile, Mary's rewrite. If this is intentional as a cliffhanger or a setup for her perspective, clarify it. Otherwise, it seems like a draft cutoff. Her absence was barely noticed. The separation. Agreement was finalized without incident, and Andrew quietly informed me she had moved into a small apartment on the outskirts of town. According to David, Mark had vanished, and Mary was left struggling to make ends meet. I could have felt vindicated, maybe even smug, but the truth was, I didn't feel much at all. Her downfall wasn't mine to dwell on anymore. My focus was on building a life without her and the chaos she brought. Looking back, I realized that Mary's betrayal, though deeply painful, was the turning point I needed. It forced me to face the fractures in our marriage, reevaluate my priorities, and rediscover the strength I had long forgotten. Now, standing on the balcony of my penthouse with a glass of whiskey in hand, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. The city lights stretched endlessly before me, a shimmering reminder of all the possibilities that lay ahead. This was my new beginning, and for the first time, I was ready to embrace it. After our final meeting at the cafe, Mary vanished from my life. I didn't seek out news, but updates found their way to me. Whispers through mutual friends, stray reports from David, the inevitable gossip that circulates through social circles. All painted a picture that was bleak, though not surprising. She had moved into a cramped apartment far from the luxury she once enjoyed. With Mark gone and no access to the accounts she tried to drain, she scraped by on odd jobs. The shine of her socialite life had faded, replaced by the dull grind of survival. But the trouble didn't stop there. One day, David called with an update that even caught me off guard. "You're not going to believe this," he said. "Mary's being sued. One of Mark's other victims is coming after her. Turns out he used her name to secure a loan, and now the creditors are circling." I chuckled, shaking my head. "Guess karma's quicker than I thought." "Want me to step in?" he asked. "No," I said firmly. "She made her bed. Let her lie in it." As much as I wanted to move on, part of me still wondered if Mary truly grasped the magnitude of her betrayal, not just toward me, but toward herself. In chasing an illusion, she'd wrecked her own life. Now she was paying the price. Months passed, and something unexpected began to happen. The tone of conversations around me shifted. Where once there had been pity, the man betrayed by his wife, now there was respect. Not just for my professional success, but for the way I had handled the fallout. I hadn't lashed out. I hadn't collapsed. I had simply moved forward. That respect culminated one evening at a company gala, a glittering affair full of people eager to be seen. I was no exception, but this time, I wasn't alone. Claire was by my side, her presence a quiet testament to the new chapter I was writing. As we mingled, I found myself reflecting on just how far I'd come. A year ago, I had been blindsided, fighting to protect everything I had built. Now I stood stronger, wiser, more certain than ever. Mary, meanwhile, had faded into the background. The last I heard, she was working at a small boutique, struggling to stay afloat. She'd sent me a letter once, a long, meandering apology that wavered between regret and self-justification. "I made mistakes," she wrote. "I know I hurt you. And I'll never forgive myself. But I was lost, Michael. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. I read the letter once, then tucked it away in a drawer. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. The night of the gala ended with Claire and me standing on my balcony, the city glowing beneath us. She leaned against the railing, her face softly lit by the skyline. "You've been quiet," she said, turning to me. "Just thinking," I replied. "About her?" I shook my head. "No, about everything. About how much can change in a year." She smiled and reached for my hand. "Well, here's to change." I raised my glass and touched it to hers. To change. As I stood there, I understood something vital. Mary's betrayal hadn't broken me. It had freed me. It forced me to rebuild on stronger ground, to value loyalty, resilience, and the art of letting go. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need her remorse. All I needed was the life I was creating for myself, a future wide open and untarnished by the past. This wasn't a story of revenge or triumph over someone else. This was a story of moving on, and for the first time in a long time, I was truly happy.